Alright, so today we're going 100% Shadow of Mordor, a game where you play as a guy who dies in the first 10 minutes and then just doesn't. This game came out in 2014, won Game of the Year, and it also definitely didn't have any legal issues with its Nemesis system. But hey, we're not here for legal drama, we're here for gaming. And by gaming, I mean spending hours hunting down orcs until the achievement tracker finally decides to acknowledge my existence.
Hello? Hello? Anybody home?
We're getting every achievement in this game. It's a total of 51 for the base game. And if I don't, well, I guess I'll just sit here in shame and contemplate my life choices. So we start off with our main guy, Talion, who's just your average family man, loves his wife, loves his kid, loves being alive, but spoiler alert, the last one isn't going to last very long. Game teaches you the combat basics by having you beat up your own child. Not sure what kind of parenting technique this is, but hey, at least he can dodge roll now. These guys speedrun Talion's entire bloodline, and next thing you know, him, his wife, and his kid are getting sacrificed to some discount Dark Lord wannabe. Usually when you die in a game, you just respawn. Talion? Nah, he's built different. Instead of dying, he gets soft locked between life and death because of some ghostly elf dude who's now permanently attached to him like a bad Wi-Fi signal. This guy's name is Celebrimbor, but honestly I'm just calling him Ghost Elf because I am not about to pronounce that every 5 minutes. He's got beef with Sauron, Talion's got beef with the guys who murdered his family, and together they make the worst buddy cop duo in Middle-earth history.
We die together.
So Ghost Elf brings me back to life, tells me I have a mystical purpose, and now the game just hands me mind control. 5 minutes ago I was mourning my dead family, now I'm running a one-man cult. The game calls this domination, which, look, I'm just saying, that is a bold choice of words. And there it is, first achievement, we're officially on the board. Also, I now have an unpaid orc intern. Dude gets no salary, no benefits, just brainwashed into external servitude. Honestly, it's kinda messed up.
You guys are getting paid?
So after politely recruiting my first Auric, it was time to obviously ignore my main objective and do some side quests, because, you know, priorities. First, bow missions, which means I'm legally required to turn every orc I see into a medieval pincushion. And just like that, my bow is now legendary, my enemies less alive. Next, dagger missions. The game claims that this will make my dagger a legend, but in reality, I'm just committing serial backstabbing for XP. Whatever, achievement unlocked, ethics not included. And finally, we have sword missions, aka the I'm too lazy for stealth, so let's just start swinging approach. Now my sword has achieved also legendary status, and so have I, in my own mind.
It's gonna be legendary.
So after proving I'm the deadliest warrior in Middle-earth history by bullying low-level Aurics for 3 different weapon tutorials, the game decides it's time to introduce this thing. Yep, that's Golem. You know him, you love him, or maybe you don't because he's a creepy little goblin who refers to himself in the third person like a discount WWE wrestler.
It doesn't matter what your name is!
Somehow, this skeletal frog man knows more about my personal brain parasite than I do. But sure, yeah, let's just blindly follow him into a cave, because bad decisions are part of my brand now. So we find a random glowing relic, and instead of, you know, not touching the blatantly haunted object, I immediately pick it up, because of course I do. Turns out Ghost Elf used to have a normal life, wife, kid, probably a mortgage. And guess what happens next?
No! No! No!
They die. Yep, murdered, just like Talion's family, and I'm starting to notice a pattern here. Great, so not only am I stuck with an undead elf squatting in my brain, but we also have shared trauma. This is literally the worst therapy session ever. But hey, at least I got an achievement. So apparently my weapons are legendary, my combat skills are unmatched, and yet somehow I need to pay to unlock extra slots for rune. Anyway, after looting every corpse and selling my soul to side quests, I finally scrounged up enough Middle-earth Monopoly money to upgrade my bow. Because nothing says stealthy assassin like firing a glowing blue arrow directly into an orc's face. Next, it was time to upgrade the sword, because as fun as ranged combat is, let's be honest, I'm going to spend 90% of the game just slashing through waves of Aurics like a Timu Aragon anyway.
Find addition to my collection.
After unlocking those shiny new rune slots, I figured it was time to do something heroic for a change. So I went on an outcast rescue mission, which is basically just Middle-earth's version of breaking your homies out of jail. Couple of stealth kills, some strategically placed explosions, and an absolutely unethical amount of murder later, and here's that achievement. So far, I've been doing important things, avenging my family, unlocking cool weapons, saving innocent people. And now the game decides, hey, what if you had a sidekick? This guy, Ratbag. The most pathetic, whiny, and somehow luckiest Auric in Mordor. Imagine if you combine pure cowardice with sheer dumb luck. He's him. Ratbag is not like other Aurics. Instead of being some bloodthirsty, mindless brute, this dude's ambition outweighs his actual skill. He doesn't want to fight his way up the ranks, he wants me to do all the work while he reaps the rewards. And like an idiot, I agree.
You son of a bitch! I'm in!
And just like that, another head rolls, and suddenly, Ratbag is the new Warchief. He didn't lift a finger, didn't land a single hit, and yet here he is, one of the most powerful Aurics in Mordor. But hey, at least I got an achievement out of it. Enjoy your rain, rat bag. I give it about 2 hours before someone kills you. So after spending an entire afternoon doing free labour for rat bag, I decided to treat myself to something nice. More dagger rune slots. Because if there's one thing I've learned in Middle Earth, it's that stabbing people is a life skill worth investing in. And here's that achievement, which I just did a few moments ago. Alright, cool, love that for me. Just walked in, sought out, confidence at 100, and this Oryx like, nah fam, take the L. Absolutely embarrassing. And just like that, the game hands me a revenge mission. Not because it cares about me, not because it thinks I deserve justice, but because it knows I'm spiteful and deeply petty, just like my ex. And just like that, his entire career path ends in record time, and I get the achievement associated with that mission. Alright, so let's just acknowledge what's happening. I am once again following Gollum, Middle Earth's most untrustworthy creature, into a dark, unknown, definitely deadly location. Because surely this time he's leading me to something good and not, a massive flesh-eating disaster. Oh, would you look at that? It was a trap. Who could have seen this coming? And where's Gollum? Dude just dropped me into a live monster exhibit and dipped like a scam artist on payday. Anyway, here's the plan. We're gonna ring the Middle Earth dinner bell and let nature take its course. And in doing so, we not only distract the Graug long enough to sneak past him, but we also get an achievement. Alright, time to poke the glowing artifact and see what kind of ancient world-ending disaster I get to relive this time. Oh cool, just a literal creation of the Rings of Power. No big deal. Just the most catastrophic arts and crafts project ever attempted. This dude was out here thinking he was just making some neat little accessories. Meanwhile, every historian in Middle Earth is currently screaming. Upon waking up, we are rudely interrupted by the Graug, who's obviously not too keen on us taking a dirt nap inside his living room. But hey, we get another achievement for our troubles. Alright, so at some point in this game stopped being about revenge and became Mordor's worst achievement speedrun. 1 minute I'm avenging my family, the next I'm releasing wild animals, poisoning orcs, and committing felony level arson. This is less of a heroic quest and more of an unhinged crime spree with a kill counter. Alright, first up, wildlife preservation, by which I mean unleashing hyper-aggressive murder lizards into an active war zone. We simply shoot the lot, let Mother Nature do her thing, and pretend this was somehow the ethical decision. And just like that, Middle Earth's first wildlife protection program is a roaring success. 5 cages down, 1 achievement up. Next, I went full pacifist and started picking flowers like I'm about to start an Etsy shop. Even in the darkest corners of Mordor, you can still find yourself some lovely roses. Once we'd finished our first collection, we got the achievement, as you would expect. Next, we had to crash an Auric party and spike their drinks, which sounds simple enough until you find out these parties could rival a P. Diddy baby oil freak-off. A little harmless drink spiking later though, and we get the achievement. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you never drink from an unsealed container. So for whatever reason, the Auric camps are infested with bee nests, and rather than call an exterminator, they just ignore them, much like I ignore my crippling depression. Turns out we can use these bees to our advantage and scare orcs off, just by simply shooting them down.
Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah!
Some strategic use of insects to commit war crimes later, and we get the next achievement. Just like any good open world game, we have collectibles. Apparently, these have some significance to the story, and perhaps if I actually paid attention to the memory that comes with it, I might know what it does. Once we get 25% of them, we get the achievement. Next up, we need to casually commit arson. That's right, napalm may be a war crime in real life, but in Mordor, it's just another Tuesday. Once we finish barbecuing 50 Oryx to a perfect medium rare, we get the next achievement, and I'm getting hungry. So we've just finished cooking Oryx, and now it's time to hunt wildlife for sport. That's right, much like the survival challenges, this game has us kill different animals to complete hunting challenges. Once we've completed 4 of these challenges, we get the achievement, and I need to move on before Peter tries to cancel me. And finally, in our little achievement montage, we have Heart of Despair, which is basically us pulling off a Batman level takedown from 60 feet, which honestly was pretty sick. One perfect swan dive that even an Olympian would be proud of later, and we have another achievement to our name. So apparently today's objective is large-scale vandalism. Not sneaky assassinations, not high-level strategy, just rolling a giant, highly flammable keg straight into a monument of Satan's less attractive cousin. And honestly, I'm in. Mordor's got plenty of problems, but a distinct lack of explosions ain't one of them. But we successfully get it to the monument and watch a dope cutscene of Discount Satan's statue being destroyed, and we get another achievement pop. So after destroying an entire monument dedicated to Sauron, I guess it makes sense that his higher-ups are finally taking me seriously. Enter the Hammer. One of Sauron's top guys, and judging by his massive hammer, he's definitely not here to congratulate me, or he's compensating for something. So it turns out, being named after a construction tool does not make you good at fighting, because for all his theatrics, the Hammer's combat strategy is about as complex as a 2-button fighting game. And here's the achievement to remember him by.
Another one.
But hold on, we're not done yet. See, I've been systematically dismantling Sauron's entire leadership structure, and there's one last Warchief left. and if I take him out before the orcs can replace him, I unlock another achievement. And with that, no Warchiefs left. Sauron's entire hierarchy is in shambles, and I'm now Mordor's most wanted criminal. Honestly, not a bad day. So after downsizing Sauron's entire corporate structure, the game decides I need a change of scenery. Enter Lefariel. She's here to deliver some important plot developments and relocate us because nothing screams you're almost done with the game like getting forcibly shipped to a fresh map. We meet Queen Marwen, leader of Nirn, wise ruler, and currently running on about 2 frames per second. Like, I don't want to be rude, but my girl looks like she's been powered by Windows XP for the last several centuries. She gives us some cryptic message and sends us away to run some errands and meet up with a little person. Enter Torvin, the only dwarf in this entire game. He's loud, overconfident, and honestly, probably the most competent dude I've had the pleasure of coming across. And unlike literally everyone else I've met, this guy isn't here to talk about prophecies or revenge plots. No, my man's just out here hunting giant monsters for fun. But before we can assist Torvin in taking down some Star Wars looking wannabe, it's time to rack up some more achievements. First, it's time for some psychological warfare, because apparently it's not enough to just kill Auric, I also need to gaslight them. Once we find a captain, we give him the old Jedi mind trick, and next minute, we unlock the achievement. Then it's time for some community service, because nothing says avenging my family like scraping graffiti off walls. Apparently, these are called Ithilden, and they're ancient elven tags that probably mean something important. All I know is that once I've found 50% of them, I get another achievement. And now for something actually useful. These forge towers are basically Mordor's fast travel system, which means the more I activate, the less time I spend running across this godforsaken map. Achievement unlocked, every tower activated, fast travel fully unlocked, no more running across Mordor like an NPC. Alright, so after spending way too much time touching glowing walls and branding half of Mordor's population, I figured I'd check back in with Queen Marwen. You know, see if she's doing any better. Turns out, our girl Marwen isn't just sick, she's been possessed. By none other than the OG backstabbing white wizard himself, Saruman.
You were the chosen one!
And I've seen enough horror movies to know that step 1 is to break whatever cursed object is making this worse. And in this case, that would be the staff. And just like that, cursed wizard malware uninstalled, Saruman is officially evicted, and we just performed an exorcism using nothing but brute force. Oh, and we get another achievement. Alright, so before we get back to the whole saving Middle Earth thing, the game insists I complete every single dagger mission, because apparently being a master assassin is optional, unless you want an achievement. And once we complete the 10th mission, we get the achievement, and I'm now officially the deadliest man in Mordor with a butter knife. Alright, final Ithilden pieces. If I have to stare at one more piece of ancient elven wall graffiti, I'm gonna personally resurrect Sauron myself. These things are supposed to form a message when fully collected, but honestly, I could not care less at this point. I'm just here for the achievement. And just like that, we get the final one and achievement unlocked. I am now officially the Middle-earth equivalent of a street cleaner. And finally, we've got the last round of Mordor's weirdest side gig, collecting old junk. For some reason, avenging my family involves picking up ancient elven souvenirs like a tourist trapped in Middle-earth's worst gift shop. But at least I'm done. No more running around collecting nonsense. Now I can finally focus on the real objective, hunting down Daddy Graug. So after spending way too much time hunting random creatures, the final challenge was taking down the legendary White Graug. And the guy giving me this mission? Torvin, a dwarf who had already lost to this thing once and somehow thought round 2 would go better with me involved. After a few cycles of dodging, stunning, and slashing for dear life, I finally managed to bring this thing down. And just like that, the White Graug is no more, Mordor's biggest predator, deleted, and with it, I also finished every hunting challenge. 2 achievements for 1 kill, absolutely worth it. I'll take that W and pretend this wasn't the most stressful fight in the game. So after killing Mordor's apex predator, I was finally free to move on with my life. Except, no. This game immediately hits me with another mission, saving Lefariel after she gets herself captured by Aurics. Once I fought through half the Auric population, I finally freed Lefariel. Mission over, right? No, now I had to escort her out because she broke a leg or something, I don't know. So instead of a rescue mission, this became a full-blown battlefield. I'm out here carrying the whole fight while Lefariel is just laying there in the fetal position. And after all that, achievement unlocked, Lefariel's safe, I did all the work, and now the Resistance can keep fighting another day. So after rescuing Lefariel and playing babysitter for the Resistance, it was time to start bullying Aurics in the most official way possible. Enter death threats. This skill lets me mind control a random Auric and force him to go tell his boss that I'm coming to kill him, which honestly, incredible feature. So when we finally find him, we have to throw everything at him. We set off an explosion, release a Caragor, shoot him in the head, and it's still not enough, but eventually we wear him down enough, grab him from behind, consensually of course, and give him the prison shank treatment. Death threat delivered, and as a reward for actually following through, the game drops another achievement. So at this point the game decided just killing Aurics wasn't enough. Now I had to completely break their minds and make them fight for me. Here's how this works. I need to find 5 separate captains, brand them and make them infiltrate the same Warchiefs inner circle. Simple, right? Well, after around an hour's work and a ton of setup, it was time for the moment of truth. We start up a power struggle mission, and as soon as it starts, we turn all our boys against the Warchief, unlocking the achievement and getting one of our boys promoted to the top job. It's like Ratbag all over again. So after mentally breaking half of Mordor's captains, it was time to step things up. The next mission? Branding an actual Warchief, because clearly I'm not done ruining this hierarchy yet. Once we beat him down, it's time to command him to start a riot against another Warchief. And without even seeing said riot, we get the achievement. Alright, final sword mission. At this point I've fought through waves of orcs, mastered sword combat, and apparently the game thinks that qualifies me to run Mordor's sketchiest recruitment agency. The goal here? Recruit a small army of orcs, hype them up, and then immediately stab them all in the back. Basically, this game wants me to create a full-on pyramid scheme of betrayal. And just like that, achievement unlocked, Fire of Justice. I've officially completed every sword mission and established myself as Mordor's absolute worst boss. Let's talk strategy. The plan was simple. Take out some captains, brand a few others, and casually destabilise Mordor's entire political landscape. Apparently, while casually mind controlling half of Mordor's upper management, I accidentally triggered the conditions for divide and conquer, which involves wiping out the bodyguards of 2 Warchiefs and then killing them, which basically means I accidentally committed a double assassination while trying to set up something completely unrelated. Nice. Achievement unlocked, Mordor's political structure completely obliterated, my strategy non-existent, but hey, results are results.
I love democracy.
So I spent half the game basically committing orc genocide, right? Then it hits me. Hold on. Why murder everyone when I can just aggressively adopt them instead? Enter the ultimate power move. Instead of wiping out Sauron's leadership, I just took it over. All 5 Warchiefs, mine now. So by the time the final mission rolled up, I didn't even lift a finger. This guy opens his mouth, starts trash talking, and my boys just straight up delete him for mid-sentence. Like brutal HR violation right there. And just like that, Mordor belongs to me, achievement unlocked, officially running a shadow government, feeling pretty good about myself right now.
I'm the captain now.
So after taking over Sauron's entire leadership, it was time for the next big boss fight, the Tower. One of the Black Hand's top guys, the baddest of the bad, king of the villains, master of standing completely still apparently. And here we go, epic showdown time ladies and gentlemen. Honestly, this feels more like I'm playing hide and seek against a blindfolded NPC. Intense, truly thrilling stuff. And just like that, the epic battle against Sauron's right hand man is over. This guy is supposed to be one of the biggest threats in Mordor, and he went down easier than the tutorial enemy. You know, I get that not every boss fight needs to be Dark Souls, but come on, at least pretend to put up a fight. Anyway, achievement is done. Honestly, I feel dirty about this, like I need to take a shower. So this is it, the grand finale, the moment everything has been building up to, the final battle against the Black Hand of Sauron. The one responsible for Talion's entire tragic backstory. Surely this is going to be... never mind, he just kills himself. That's it, that's the fight, roll credits. Alright, so the Black Hand just dipped out, but it's fine because now we fight Sauron, the actual Dark Lord himself, a true test of skill, reflexes, and it's just a quick time event. That's it, that's the whole thing. And just like that, it's over. I beat the final boss using a single button. What an absolutely mind-blowing test of my skills. Anyway, the story is done, Mordor is free, Sauron is defeated, I guess, and I barely had to do anything. Now all that is left is the cleanup of the remaining achievements, so let's crack into them. Alright, so after slaughtering Warchiefs, branding armies, and fighting literal gods, it was time for my toughest challenge yet, gathering plants. Because apparently that's what a survival challenge is in Middle-earth. Anyway, we get the last herb, and I'm officially the deadliest florist in Mordor. Up next, we finally have a noble quest, rescuing every last outcast from Uruk captivity. Which sounds great in theory, except these missions are a never-ending grind. So here's how every single one of these missions goes. Sneak into camp, free some prisoners, kill a few Uruks, rinse and repeat for hours. Anyway, finally, after what felt like an entire career's worth of unpaid humanitarian work, achievement unlocked. So after spending what felt like a lifetime rescuing outcasts one by one, the game decides, nah, let's speed things up. 30 prisoners, 3 minutes, time to go Middle-earth speedrunner mode. The key to success, an optimized route, and by optimize I mean ride in, cause chaos, free as many slaves as possible, and hope for the best. And that's 30 people freed in less time than it takes to microwave popcorn. So to get this achievement, I had to do something unthinkable. I had to help this guy to go all the way to Warchief. So I spent way too much time rigging fights in his favour. This man went from random foot soldier to Mordor's big shot, and he really thought he was safe? Nah, the second he hit Warchief, it was time for his forced retirement. And just like that, achievement unlocked. Alright, next up, all I had to do is a level 25 rune. Should be simple. Find Big Bag Auric, stab him, collect rune. Instead the game hands me a freaking calculus exam. Killing Aurics is out. Now I gotta meticulously hunt down the perfect Auric. Step 1, find a Warchief who's at least level 20. Easy enough, right? Wrong again, because not only does this guy have to be powerful, he's gotta have a legitimate fear. Problem? Aurics apparently don't believe in fear. They're emotionally repressed killing machines. Do all that ridiculous setup right, and congratulations, you earn one shiny rune and a fleeting sense of satisfaction.
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
So based on what I just said before, the next achievement should be easy, right? Just find a Warchief, exploit his biggest fear, and profit. Except turns out finding a Warchief with fear is harder than finding an honest politician. These guys are fearless. After what felt like an entire Mordor-wide investigation, I finally found one Warchief who was actually afraid of something. So all I had to do was introduce him to his worst nightmare. And just like that, instant coward mode. This absolute menace to society just dropped everything and sprinted like he had an overdue tax bill. Alright, so to get the next achievement, I had to help an Auric successfully recruit a small army. And once he had his squad ready to go, I had to immediately betray them all. And let me tell you, this achievement was a pain in the ass. It sounds so simple on paper, but in reality, if you're not carefully micromanaging, the orcs just get themselves unalived. Or if you step in too much, he doesn't recruit anybody. Anyway, after failing this a number of times, I finally got one to recruit a couple of members before him and his friends went to the big Barbie in the sky, and I got the achievement associated with that mission. Apparently, I need to train my archery. Game says I suck. I say I already knew that. Time for Maker's Bow, which is unlocked by completing 10 of these Legend of Azkar bow missions, which is really just a fancy term for shoot orcs in a creative way for XP. The missions? Simple. Shoot orcs, more orcs, sometimes explode things, always stylish. This is the game trying to make us good at sniping. We are trying our best not to let that happen. After 10 of these missions, Mordor is now at critical orc population shortage, and we have officially hit peak elven supremacy. No, we still can't shoot like Legolas, but hey, 100% is one step closer, and here's that achievement. So we're up to the final achievement. Set a berserker on fire, execute him, done. Easy, no problem. Turns out that's not how it works, because if you set an Auric on fire, they don't just wait for you to execute them, they die. Pretty fast. Not to mention just finding a berserker in the first place was like looking for a stubby in a sand dune. But after way too many failed attempts, I finally got one just crispy enough, but not enough to turn him into a barbecue. And just like that, the final achievement is unlocked. And that, my friends, is what 100% completion in Shadow of Mordor looks like. Countless battles, questionable life choices, and an unhealthy amount of time spent messing with Aurics like it was a personal hobby. Was it frustrating at times? Absolutely. Did I enjoy every second of it anyway? Yeah, kinda. Honestly, this game still slaps. The combat is smooth, the Nemesis system is still unmatched, and the fact that the devs actually made a good achievement list instead of forcing some RNG nightmare? Respect. Only real downside? Apparently boss fights are illegal in this game, but hey, at least the Aurics kept things interesting. That's it for this one. Thank you for watching. Got a game you want to see next? Drop it in the comments. Just note that if it involves insane RNG, bad stealth mechanics, or another kill 500 enemies with a spoon trophy, I will personally find you. Alright, that's me out. Ciao Bella, see you in the next one.